Hello students, welcome back. I hope you all are doing great. So let us start with the next and a very interesting chapter, Kashmiri apples. I went to the market last evening to purchase a few necessities. On the way I came across some Punjabi fruit dealers' shop. Ripe red apples were displayed attractively in one of the shops. I was tempted. It has become customary these days in educated circle to talk of vitamins and proteins. Previously, no one looked at tomatoes even if they were available for free. Now tomatoes have become an essential part of one's diet. Carrot too were earlier considered to be a food suitable to fill a poor man's stomach. So now the narrator is telling that he has been to a market. वो एक market गए और market में उन्होंने क्या देखा? He came across Punjabi fruit dealers और उधर क्या रखे हुए थे? Ripe red apples. They were displayed, and the narrator is saying that previously it was not a fashion to talk about vitamins and minerals we get from fruit and vegetable, but now people are very careful of diet and people want to eat healthy, so all these mangoes and apples, they all are displayed here. The rich ate only carrot halwa, but since it is now known that the carrot contain lot of vitamins, they have found their way to people's dining tables. So now the narrator is saying कि पहले सिर्फ rich लोग, अमीर लोग ही हलवा खाते थे किसका? गाजर का. बट नाउ जब लोगों को पता चला है कि गाजर में कितनी विटामिन्स और मिनरल्स होते हैं, तो अब सारे लोग, इवन मिडिल क्लास, हैव चोज टू ईट गाजर का हलवा. Where apples are concerned, the saying an apple a day keeps the doctor away is becoming very popular. We are ready to do anything, even eat the bitter stuff to keep the doctor away. In color and taste, an apple may not be superior to a mango, but neither is inferior. Of course, we are not talking about the Langda mango of Banaras, the Daseri of Lucknow, or the Alfonsos of Mumbai. No fruit in the world can match them. But whether they contain sufficient vitamins and proteins is not known, since no expert opinion from the West has as yet come to our notice on this subject. Apples have already received the stamp of approval. They are not only good to eat but are also beneficial for our health. I bargained with the shopkeeper and asked him for half a share of apple. So now the narrator is saying that जब से हम लोगों को पता चला है कि एप्पल्स में और मैंगोज़ में बहुत ज़्यादा विटामिन्स हैं, everyone has started eating apples and mangoes, and he is saying that no fruit in the world can match them. What? Mangoes. So he is describing mangoes from all across India, Langda mangoes of Banaras and the Daseris of Lucknow, and he is also saying that whether they contain sufficient vitamins and proteins is unknown because the West has not yet reported on this thing. मतलब बाहर वाले लोगों ने, बाहर वाले साइंटिस्ट ने ऐसा कुछ अभी तक पुख्ता नहीं दिया है कि मैंगोज़ में कोई बहुत ज़्यादा विटामिन्स होते हैं या मिनरल्स होते हैं, पर हम सभी को पसंद हैं. And there is a saying that an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So now the narrator is also keen on buying the apples. So now he is bargaining with the shopkeeper and asking him for half a share, मतलब half a kilo of apples he is taking home. Shopkeeper: you will relish each one of them. I handed him a large handkerchief and said, select good one and put them in it. The shopkeeper picked his weighing scales and said to his servant, hand half a share of Kashmiri apples. Select them properly. The boy bought 4 apples. The shopkeeper weighed them and put them in a paper bag. Then he tried the 4 ends of the handkerchief around the paper bag and gave it to me. I handed him 4 annas. So now what the narrator is doing, he is getting half a share of apples for him. He is instructing the shopkeeper that give me fine quality of apples, and the shopkeeper decided that they were Kashmiri apples, and he instructed the boy that the boy should help him, and the boy bought 4 apples. On reaching home, I left the apple as they were. Apples or any other fruit are not eaten at night. So now the narrator is saying that when I got the apples, I just kept it on the table and I didn't eat them at night. The time to eat fruits is in morning. So now the narrator is saying that the time to eat fruit is in the morning, and I am going to eat them in the next morning. Next morning I got for breakfast, took out one of the apples and found them rotten. And now, so what happened the next morning, students, कि नरेटर जब उठे उन्होंने एक एप्पल निकाला और देखा तो वो rotten था, मतलब सड़ा हुआ था. Part of the skin the size of a rupee coin was discolored. I thought the shopkeeper had missed the discoloration in the dark. I took out another apple. So now the narrator is thinking to himself कि शायद शॉपकीपर भूल गया होगा या फिर भूल से उसने मुझे एक सड़ा हुआ एक रॉटन एप्पल दे दिया होगा. हो सकता है बाकी के और भी एप्पल्स हैं वो सही हों. I took out another apple. This one was half rotten. So now the narrator picked out the next apple and found it to be rotten too. I began to get suspicious. Had the shopkeeper tricked me? I took out the third apple. This one wasn't rotten, but one side of it was completely squashed. I examined the fourth apple. It seemed blemish-free, but there was a small black hole in it. On cutting it open, I found the same spot as one find in a fruit partly consumed by worms. So what is happening now here, students? That कि narrator एक के बाद एक सेब निकाल रहे हैं उस थैली में से, and he is finding that each and every apple is rotten. Some apple is rotten only from the side, but they all are rotten. And it seems like they have been eaten by worms. मतलब उनको कीड़ों ने खा रखा है. Not even one of the apple was worth eating. So the shopkeeper actually tricked the narrator and giving him all the rotten apples. I wasn't as unhappy about wasting 4 annas as I was about declining ethical standards of the society. The shopkeeper had knowingly deceived me. If just one of the apples had been deceived, I would have forgiven him. I would have thought he hadn't noticed it. But the fact that all of them should be rotten was downright cheating. So now the narrator is saying that it would have been okay that if one apple was rotten or the next apple was rotten. But now I feel that I have been deceived. What do we mean by deceive here, student? That I have been cheated. So the narrator feels cheated here, that the shopkeeper has actually frauded him and gave him all the rotten apples. और नरेटर यहाँ कहते हैं कि मुझे अपने आनाज, अपने 4 आनाज का भी दुख नहीं है. मुझे किस बात का दुख है? That the declining ethical standards of the society. However, I have also collaborated in this deceit. My handing the shopkeeper the handkerchief had, as it were, giving him the incentive to cheat me. He had realized that this customer wasn't alert enough to examine the apples before purchasing them, or to return deceived apples once he had purchased them. So now the narrator is saying कि भूल शायद मेरी भी थी and I should be punished equally कि मैंने उसे हैंकरचिफ दे दी भरोसे में और उसने सारे गंदे सेब डाल दिए. तो गलती शायद मेरी भी है क्योंकि मैंने चेक कर नहीं लिया. I should be equally punished for this. A man restored to honesty only when the opportunity presents itself. To give him such an opportunity, whether out of indifference or one's own misplaced notion of trust, was to collaborate in the dishonesty. Nowadays, no one trusts clerks and other government employees. Go to any police station, courts or municipal offices. You will be so harassed that you will do anything to avoid going there again. However, traders still enjoy a good reputation. They might give you a few chatangs less of what you have bought from them, but you do not need to worry if by mistake you hand a shopkeeper a 10 rupee note instead of a 5. Your money would be safe with him. So now the narrator is saying that आजकल क्लर्क्स को और ट्रस्टेड गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉयज़ को भी कोई ट्रस्ट नहीं करता, तो मैंने इस शॉपकीपर पर कैसे ट्रस्ट कर लिया, एंड इट वॉज माई मिस्टेक दैट आई ट्रस्टेड दिस शॉपकीपर टू गिव मी the apples and it turned out to be rotten. When no one is trusting even the government employees, how can I even trust the shopkeeper to give me good apples? I remember once during a fair on the day of Muharram, I bought one paisa worth of revdis from a roadside vendor and gave him an 8 anna coin by mistake. When I realized at home what I had done, I dashed back to the sweet seller without much hope that he would return my 8 annas. Not only did he return it, but also he apologized for my mistake. So now the narrator is saying कि पहले कुछ वक्त की बात है, जब मैं मुहर्रम पर रेवड़ीज लेने गया था, मैंने गलती से by mistake I handed over 8 annas to the shopkeeper, और जब मैं घर पहुंचा तो I realized that I have given much more amount than the revdis actually costed me. और फिर the narrator went back to the shopkeeper and asked for the 8 annas, and the shopkeeper smiled and returned him his annas back. And here I had been sold rotten apples in the name of fine fruits from Kashmir. Well, I hope my readers will not shop with their eyes closed as I did. If you do like me, all they'll get will be rotten Kashmiri apples. So now the narrator is saying that please be careful when you go. Don't let anyone take advantage of you or your behavior like the narrator made this mistake. So this brings us to the end of the chapter, students. I hope you enjoyed and learnt a very important lesson. Thank you.